You know, on B-Warp, we cover a variety of topics. And tonight is a very special topic to me because this topic on Black wealth attainment through real estate is the genesis of what B-Warp is all about. A couple of years ago, Michael Lawson and I sat in my dining room talking about gentrification, about how the neighborhoods were changing and how those of us who had bought property after the civil rights movement and after affirmative action of the 70s and 80s, you know, grandmas were dying off, and because of poor planning, in some cases no planning, the houses were sold, the heirs bought cars, and the family assets were all gone. You know, 65% of Americans own homes in 2020. That was a 2.6 million increase of homeowners over 2019. But while home ownership was going up, the home ownership for African Americans, for Black folks, is lower now than it was in the 60s. In 2010, we only owned 43% of us own homes. That's 30 percentage points less than white Americans, who 70%, 72% actually own homes. Tonight, you're going to hear from two brothers that grew up in South Central and now own, lease, and flip properties all over the country. James Byrd, several successful years in corporate America until his real estate income far exceeded his corporate earnings. Now James is a real estate mogul with multiple properties across several states and has an investment portfolio that has everything from stock options to cryptocurrency. His partner in crime tonight is Reggie Brooks. Reggie's story is not much different than most of us. He grew up poor in the neighborhood, and his only thing to fight against that poverty was his desire to succeed. Today, Reggie Brooks is a multimillionaire with a passion for sharing his 30 years of experience to help others succeed. So tonight, they share building legacy wealth with real estate. I know you're going to have a lot of questions, so put them in the chat, and our producer, Jacinda Moten, will make sure that your questions get answered during our Q&A. Reggie and James, thank you for sharing your expertise and wisdom with B-Warp this evening. It's on you, brothers. Take it away.
Can you unmute yourself?
Unmute.
There you go.
A little better? Is that a little better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear us? Okay.
Great.
Yes, I was thinking about this presentation today when I was riding my bike from Marina Del Rey down to Redondo Beach, and I was looking at all the beautiful homes that are along the beach area. And what I found out was that most of these homes were acquired through generational wealth. In fact, I had lunch with one of the residents, the local residents. I guess he lives in Redondo Beach, and he said his grandfather acquired his property that he's currently living in probably 30 years ago. And he now, this is just an example of generational wealth. So let me just give you an example, okay? Great. I've been a real estate investor for over 35 years. And I've mentored many people in real estate. In fact, I could remember one person, I just spoke to him the other day. His name is Robert Cole. Robert Cole acquired a property in South Central. Actually, it was a church. I was quite surprised because it was a church. We usually talk about acquiring homes, but he acquired a church. And as a result, he made over $80,000 on this one transaction. I've been financially independent for over 30 years. I was in corporate America, and I did make millions of dollars as a result of that. I left corporate America in 1991. I worked for Digital Equipment and General Electric. But in 1991, I decided to go out on my own because my income did exceed what I was making in corporate America. I used estate. I use estate planning and asset protection to protect the properties that I did purchase. Okay, and I will live out the remainder of my life in wealth. Also, it's very important that we let our children know what properties we own, because you want them to control. You don't want the example. I've actually picked up properties many years ago where I remember one property I bought. It was the grandfather that owned this mansion. It was in the West Adams area, and the children sold the property to me, and they ended up buying I think one went and bought a new BMW, and he was actually living in a 1-bedroom apartment. He says, now I'm gonna get me a 2-bedroom apartment. So that's just an example on how we are losing property at a very fast pace.
James,
Gerald,
are
I'm
you
sorry?
sharing your screen?
Yes.
Do you not see our screen?
You don't see our screen?
Mm-mm.
Well, that's not good.
That's not good.
Okay, well, let's see what we can do about that. Hang in there.
Oh, here we are.
And
Oh, okay, there we are. Okay.
okay. Sorry about that. I thought we were sharing.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll pick it up here.
Okay.
And talking about James, who James is.
Okay. As I said, I've been in the real estate business for over 35 years. I have mentored many others in real estate. I've been financially independent for over 30 years. And I made multi-millions of dollars as a result of working as a result of investing in real estate. It's very important, if you invest in real estate, you want to be able to keep the real estate. And of course, estate planning and asset protection is a very important part of it. So you can make money in real estate, but keeping it is very important.
It's all part of it.
Okay, and I will live out the rest of the remainder of my life in real estate, with wealth in real estate. And it's very important for us to be able to pass down what we have attained to our children and our heirs. Okay, here's an example of a property that I purchased in Altadena. This is 745 Figueroa Drive. It's a beautiful property. It has mountain views. It's a palm tree lined street. It was originally, it was an abandoned property. It was actually a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And what I did is I turned this house into a 3-bedroom, 1-bath by simply moving walls around in the house. So I was able to increase the value by moving around. I paid $400,000. That was in 2007. The expenses on this house was around $40,000. Now the value of this house, now let me say something else. This house in 2007, if you remember the real estate market, it was really, there were a lot of foreclosures, banks were closing, and that was during a very trying time. But this property, I decided to keep it, and it's now valued at $995. Okay, but I did some creative, rental market was bad, the real estate market was bad, but what I did is I had the idea of, I said, who has the money? Insurance companies. So what I did is I rented this property to an insurance company, and what they do is there is a hidden market where people who experience disasters, let's say they might have a fire or a flood, and they have to find a new house for their policyholder. They will find they will find houses to rent for their clients. So that was a really unique situation. Now this house generates right now $2,600 per month cash flow. Now I have a choice. I can sell this house. It has a behind the garage, it has another room where I can actually do what is called an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. So I can increase the cash flow on this property by actually developing it and putting another unit behind the garage. So that is an option. Now, right now, it's over $31,000 per year. Now you ask, okay, here's another property. This is my pride and joy. This is something that I bought recently. This was in Cape Coral, Florida, which is waterfront property. Okay, this is in a 14-story building. This is on the 10th floor. As you can see, there are boats in the harbor. There's a lot of restaurants around there. Here's the money view. The money view this is a view of the Cohache River. And the river goes out into the Gulf of Mexico. This property is located in Southwest Florida. Here's another view from the balcony. Okay, and in the background, you can see the Westin Hotel. Okay, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, now the nice thing about this property, I just purchased it in October of 2021. Okay, I paid $521,000 for the property. The expenses were minor. All I had to do was outfit it as a vacation rental. I decided to rent it as a vacation rental. Now today the value is actually $680,000 when I made this slide, but now I was looking at the comps, the most recent comps. I looked at them today, Rick. It's $699,000. So the value has increased even more. Now it's worth over $178,000. And this was done in 6 months. So this is something you can do actually today. Okay, the projected annual revenue is about $80,000. Now this is a seasonal property. So during the high season, the rents are much higher than they are during the low season, but the average is about $80,000 a year. Okay, let me turn this over to Reggie Brooks.
And that's me. Hello, everybody. James and I have been friends for a long time now. We've been fellow investors. We've partnered on a couple of things. And it's just kind of amazing what real estate's done for us. I've been investing over 30 years myself, invested in all kinds of different properties. Been teaching others for over 20 years now. I'm one of those guys that would show up at your city and I would conduct a real estate meeting in your real estate investment clubs. And then I'd hang around on a Saturday and do a Saturday or Sunday training, things like that. Made millions and millions of dollars in real estate, and I've taught both my kids. Got a boy and a girl, and I think one of them's on tonight. Hey, girl. They're both financially independent right now, and both of my kids now, and this is important, they're teaching their children. This is where generational wealth begins. So upon my demise, my estate will survive, and my knowledgeable kids will control it all. That's part of generational wealth. So I brought a couple of little samples of properties that we bought. This is probably my better deal. This was just very recent. This is Cape Coral, Florida. Once again, we're investing heavily in Cape Coral. This one is on a canal, a Gulf access canal, where a lot of people, they come there with sailboats and they have a tall mast. So if you're under a bridge, you can't get your sailboat out. So this was a really nice property. Here's the money view, an infinity pool overlooking the canal. Here are the specs. The 5 beds, 4 baths, over 3,700 square feet on the Gulf Access Canal. I paid just about $1.1 million for this house. And look at the date. That was November 21. All we did was painted and changed the light fixtures. That's it. Sold it just a few months later, March 22, and look at what we sold it for. 1.599, call it 1.6, because I said I paid 1.1. So we have a spread there, $500,000 in a very short period of time. Now, after paying expenses, I walked away with $400,000 on that one deal. Now, here's something that you need to know. And as you're investing in real estate, you want to protect yourself. And you want to grow as fast as you can. There's a thing called IRS 1031 Deferred Tax Exchange. Here's very briefly how it works. If you qualify, you sell your property and all the profits from that property, instead of you paying taxes on those profits, you get to defer those taxes. So if I sold something for 1.6 million, I would rather defer the taxes rather than pay 20% of 1.6 to the government. So they allow me to defer the taxes, keep it in my estate. And that way I can grow an awful lot faster. And when I say I'm talking about you as well. Walked away with over $400,000. So here's another one real quick. And then I'm going to get into some things that hopefully you'll take some notes on. This is a little property that we bought. Actually, it's a big property. It was a duplex. Main house is 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and the guest house is 2+2. There's a view of the pool overlooking the canal, and there's a nice little shot of the backyard. And, you know, we sit there and fish jump out of the water, and, you know, you can fish and catch your dinner. Here are the specs, the numbers: 6 beds, 5 baths total, including the entire duplex with 3,300 square feet. It's got a boat dock. And so we rent this out through vacation renters. And they can rent a boat and pull up to the dock and jump out and walk right into the house. Paid $472 for it in August 2019. Outfitted it for a large vacation rental, lived in it for 7 months last year, and rented it for only 5 months, but it netted $60,000. So guys, we're not bragging. What we're doing is trying to motivate you and to elevate your thinking that if you think you can't do these things, you're looking at a guy who never graduated from high school. I dropped out in the 11th grade. And I remember when I go around my family around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I remember they'd be whispering around, and I know what they were saying, that he's not going to amount to anything. He's no good. He's going to be a bum. He's a black sheep of the family. Well, they got that partially wrong. I ain't no sheep. All right, so this is annualized revenue, about $12,000 a month, and you know we can all use that kind of money. So let's understand a little bit about generational wealth. And what I want to share with you is that generational wealth and generational poverty, many of us are accustomed to generational poverty, not enough of us generational wealth. Generational poverty is an endless loop. We find our families in an endless loop of scarcity thinking, where we're only seeing lack. We don't see success, we see failure. We don't see perfection, we see flaws, we see deficiencies. And it goes on for generation after generation after generation. That's generational poverty. Generational wealth, and we usually attain it through investing. We can create enough passive income to take care of all of our financial needs, and then some. We can structure our affairs in such a way that once we pass on, it passes on to our heirs. My kids will get mine, and their kids will get it from there. We're talking about generation after generation after generation. I want you to understand something. You cannot save your way to wealth. You have to invest. It's impossible to save your way to wealth. And I'm going to show you a little illustration here. Let's say you're one of the fortunate people who has a job these days, and you get yourself a 2% increase on your job, and you might be feeling pretty doggone good about all that. Let's take a closer look at it. The average person is going to have a passbook bank savings account. They don't realize that it only pays them about 1/4%, next to nothing. Understand this, just the other day, they announced that inflation's at a 40-year high, running about 8.5%. Understand this, most people are gonna pay 20% in taxes. And guess what? You're paying 20% in taxes on a 2% increase that just had a great big bite taken out of it through inflation. You're actually going backwards and you don't even know. IRS thinks that they have what it takes to take what you have, and I agree with them. They do. So we can offset that. We can prepare ourselves for that by learning things like 1031 Deferred Tax Exchange and so many other things. So I want you to do this. We're preparing yourself to build generational wealth. Discipline is going to be one of the most important things for you to incorporate. And if you don't have it, you can get it. I want you to start focusing on what's important now. We call it the WIN principle, W-I-N. And what it means is that you will do what's important now. And I tell my real estate students sometimes they have to go out and knock on a door and ask somebody a question about a house. They put it off. But you see, I would do it, and I've done that and made so much money because I'm the one that will do what's important now. Now, what's important now might also be to take a break because you've been working too hard. Do what's important now. and have the discipline to do it. I want you to be aware of the scarcity mindset. We talked a little bit about scarcity mindset. You can work on that scarcity mindset by ceasing to embrace the thoughts of lack that you have. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, it's beyond me. Or, oh, how about this one? I never graduated from high school. I can't possibly succeed in real estate. I remember somebody told me that once, just to get out of my way. So we can stop embracing thoughts of lack and start embracing the idea of abundance. Abundance is going to be so important for you because there is plenty, there is enough for all of us. And guys, I can't see on the right side of my screen. I've got a column there, and this the pictures are over it, and I can't move it. So what I'm going to tell you guys is this, that on the left-hand side, you see an abundance mindset. On the right-hand side, you see a scarcity mindset. And I can't see the scarcity side, but you can. So you take a look at what just flew off your screen there, and the antidote to that is long-term goals, not short-term goals. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that was short-term goals over there. What you see over there on that scarcity mindset, oh, the alternative is cooperation. So that means that we're looking at people who have success and we're seeing competition. And we don't have to see competition. The opposite, or some people see as risk, they get fearful. And we can see opportunity when we see risk, because you know what? When you risk and you take a calculated risk, the way that we teach in real estate, you take that risk and you go head up onto an opportunity, and the opportunity is far, far greater than the risk that you took. Excuse the stumble, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. All right, so the opposite of optimistic must be pessimistic, and we can turn that around. Other people's success, let's be inspired by that. There are enough people out there that when you start mixing and mingling with people, if you're going to start getting involved in real estate, you're going to mix and mingle with people that are extremely successful. And you can learn from every single one of them. I want you to start thinking about exercising delayed gratification, and forget about the lottery mindset, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But I learned about a delayed gratification. It's sort of like that goose that laid the golden eggs. Mm-hmm. The dummy chops the goose's head off, splits them open, and looks for eggs. No, let's delay our gratification. When you make that big payday, don't go out there and buy that BMW. Reinvest. Part of that reinvestment has to be in your education, because you want to continue to learn about real estate investing. I mentioned about the lottery mindset winner. What I mean is this: a guy goes to bed broke and wakes up in the morning and he's rich because he hit the lotto overnight. And now the thing is, he's not accustomed to handling that kind of money. And so you know what happens? He loses it all. And the statistics say that when at a very short period of time, 70% of lottery winners are broke again. Why is that? Well, the relatives start coming out of the woodwork, and they don't know how to say no, so they start giving away money to undeserving relatives and bum friends that there's no way they're going to get it back. Mm-hmm. Your buddies might come along with a harebrained scheme. Oh, this is a good opportunity, man. This is a business. And you invest your money in it. And I've heard so many people come to my seminars and say they lost so much money on a business venture that didn't turn out. Did you do any analysis on the business venture? Did you take any proactive action toward learning about what you're getting ready to put your money in? So forget about the lottery mindset. Learn real estate and learn how to leverage your money. I want you to develop determination. I'll tell you a real quick story about a man who was really, really down on his luck. He got thrown out of the house because he couldn't, his wife threw him out, and all he had was a dog. He had very little money. And so he found himself in the front of a liquor store and with his dog, and he was selling his dog. And the man bought the dog from him. Fast forward just a little bit, he found himself, this was back in Muhammad Ali's days when he was fighting, I think it was Henry Cooper, and he kept knocking him down, had made a bloody mess of his face. And this man was at someone's house watching the fight. And what he noticed Every time Ali's opponent got knocked down, he got back up again. He got knocked down, he got right back up again. The blood got in his eyes, he wiped it away, and he got right back up again. So here's what happened. He was inspired. He was writing a script. He was ready to give it up. He continued to write that script. And when he got it finished, he took it to the movies. And he wanted to be the star in that movie. And so they wanted to give him $35,000 and take the script. He says, no. He said, they give him $340,000. He said, no, I'll take it, but I got to be the star. And they said, no, he kept on. The script was bad, I'm telling you. You ever heard of Rocky? That's who we're talking about. And all the series that came along behind that. What if he had given up? What if he had given up? No, he wasn't going to give up because he was determined. When you can develop that kind of determination, there's absolutely nothing that will stand in your way. Nothing. Stop taking advice from your broke friends. That's a big one. Because, you know, just think about this. What do you think happens if you take your financial advice from your broke friends? You get broke. So don't want you to be broke. Commit to your financial future and hire professionals who know what they're doing. Okay? I'm going to give this back to James because James, I love to hear him talk about what you need to do to prepare yourself for generational wealth. Here you go.
Well, first of all, you want to learn about investing, real estate investing. And that's true. You know, there's so many sources. When we first began, they didn't have the internet. Okay, the internet is very powerful. Everything was done through the mail or going to the library.
Yeah, microfiche.
Microfiche. I remember in my first finding properties, I subscribed to a microfiche service.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have books, and it's important that you read books and go to seminars and workshops. But the internet is very powerful. You have it right in your palm of your hands with your phone. Okay. You can get you can find properties on the internet. You can find owners on the internet. So there are many vehicles. The internet is very powerful, and I use it all the time. Okay. Also, invest in a coach and mentor. Okay, it's very important. You could actually short circuit the way to success by investing in a coach and mentor. People are very afraid to invest in. They don't want to put the money. They invest in Starbucks. They will invest in a movie. They will invest in a new car. But why not invest in a mentor or a coach
that can get you where you want to go?
That can get you where you want to go, and commit to working with professionals. Somebody that's actually done. Has been professional, that has done that has achieved success. Okay, and also surround yourself with like-minded people. Okay, that's so important. And build a financial estate and enjoy life. And then be sure to tell your heirs what you built. Okay, share it with the heirs. Don't keep it a secret. Okay, that's so important. Okay, here's an example of one of my first properties I inherited. I inherited this 4-unit building from my godmother. It's located right next to the Harbor Freeway on Flower Street. It's not too far from the USC area. The area is really booming right now. You know, I could have sold this property. The rents at that time were less than $1,000 a month. Okay, I acquired it in the early 70s. And I've maintained the property over the years. In fact, you probably see that's being painted right now. It has a ladder on in front of it. Okay, that property was worth, probably when I acquired it, it was worth probably less than $50,000. Now it's valued at over $1 million. Okay, it generates, when I first acquired it, it was generating an income of less than $1,000 for all 4 units. Now it's generating a monthly income of $6,000. And this will not go down, folks. This is going to go up. And rents do not decrease, they increase. And hopefully my heirs will control it. Okay. One of the biggest mistakes we make in life, is that we think we have time. Time is free, but it is priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you spend it. And once it's lost, you can never get it back.
It's very true. Very, very true.
Okay, Reggie?
All right. So we've talked about generational wealth through long-term investing. And I think it's really important to understand. When I first got involved in real estate, I was a flipper. I'd find abandoned properties. I wrote a book on abandoned properties, and that's all I ever did. I'd buy it, I'd fix it up, and I'd sell it, and I'd take the money to the bank. And it was very, very lucrative. And then I started holding on to what I bought. I didn't hold on to enough of what I bought. And I'm going to illustrate that through this example. This is a little 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. It's about 2,600 square feet or so in Los Angeles. Those of you in LA, you probably know the Ladera Heights area. I bought this in 2002, paid $510,000 for it. Value's over $2 million now. And as I mentioned, I didn't hold on to enough properties, over the 30 years. I held on to some, but what if I had held on to, say, 10 more, like this? There's about $1.5 million spread on this property, and times 10. You see, you can only spend so much, you can only enjoy so much, but you can certainly prepare your estate so that when you pass it down, your heirs will be able to take advantage of what you've built. It doesn't just go off to the wayside. Someone else comes in and buys it and brings a totally different vibe to the area, Anyway, so I get a little emotional about this because I've been around for a while and I've seen people get involved in real estate, and then I've seen them go out of real estate without holding anything. One of the reasons why this is such a lucrative and a great business, you now can get a reverse mortgage. And this is what I've done on this property. So I'm able to pull out 52% of whatever the equity is on this property, and I have 0 payments. And actually for the rest of my life, I have no payments on this property, and it has given me, I'm getting about $126,000 again in about 2 weeks out of this property. And so you see what I'm saying, guys, it's only up to 52%. They're not going to let you borrow the other 48% because just in case you default, they want to know that they can come back and get something, and the heirs will control. So in wrapping it up, we've talked about generational wealth, and we've talked about building wealth through real estate. And this is how we know about building wealth. And we know that we must protect it. And we can enjoy it too, because we can go out and we can have great dinners. We can fly where we want. We can take cruises. As a matter of fact, we're taking our spouses to Dubai next month. We're going to be there for 9 days, James and I. And then from there, we're going to go, where are we going? Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi.
And there's someplace else
another
that
tour we're going on.
Yeah.
A couple more tours.
So you can build this, you can enjoy it, and then you make sure that you pass it on. Pass it on to those who you love.
So important.
All right. So this might be a real good place for questions, if there are any. And I think I want to take, can I take this screen off and go back to the other screen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
There we are.
All right, there we are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All righty. Yes, everyone. We will now begin the Q&A portion of the program. And our first question is, and please post your questions in the chat. Our first question is, with today's inflammatory prices, how does someone with a moderate income get started?
Can I handle that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I was thinking about the property that I acquired in Altadena, for example. Okay, I acquired this property, what we call a bird dog. Okay, the bird dog is a person that actually will go out and find property for you. Okay, you pay the bird dog will collect a fee for acquiring the property. I think I paid the bird dog about $5,000. I mean, he didn't have any money, but he made $5,000 by controlling the property. And there's a way to control the property. He didn't go out and buy the property. He actually controlled the property. You can control the property with less than $100. And then he assigned the contract over to me. So he was able to collect $5,000, and that's how you can get started. But if you don't have any money.
So a good example. Go ahead.
Okay, and then I was going to say also I remember when I first started, I had a partner. So I was able to partner with somebody, and because I didn't have enough money. I mean, I was living in an apartment when I first started. I had a new baby, and I didn't know, I didn't have, I mean, $3,000 was like $30,000 to me at that time. So you can partner.
Now 30 is like 3 to him.
But you know, there are ways to get started without having a lot of money. Okay, so you can actually wholesale deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good example. I have some students who wholesaled, and they had no money. They had no credit. The credit was bad. All they had was a burning desire to get involved in real estate and some time to go look at properties. One other thing they did, they educated themselves on what to look for. And so, and then what we do a lot of times is, you know, we'll have students, and so we give them some tools that they can use, internet tools that they can use to locate potentially good properties, distressed properties.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the way that we got started. I got started with a little bit of money from my job. They gave me money to leave them alone. So I gladly left them alone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we all have to get some start from some place. Now, another thing too is that there are real estate investment clubs all over the country. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see my mentor tomorrow, Al Lowry. He's the one that started the real estate investment clubs many, many years ago. So find out where your club meets. If you're in Los Angeles, it's what Steve Love's Club, Prosperity.
Yeah, just Google
Real
it,
Estate.
Real Estate Investment Club of Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's Prosperity to Real Estate.
Yeah,
It's for LA.
and they actually meet on once a week, once a month. I think,
Yeah,
right?
once a month.
Once a month.
But my point is that you have this wonderful, wonderful tool that you can use called the Real Estate Investment Club. You go there and you can learn from the speakers that are there. And you also, you take your business cards with you and take a good attitude and take your networking mindset, because you've got people there that can make you millions and millions and millions of dollars. If you would just climb out of your shell and meet some of these people, start growing, because I tell you where the money is where the growers are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to grow, it's gonna leave you. You'll be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So latch on to someone in the real estate investment club or wherever you might meet someone who is doing what you want to do.
All right.
And then get ready to run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So real estate investment clubs and wholesaling.
Yes.
Those are 2 examples.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is, how long can you defer with the 1031? You all mentioned about that earlier with the tax exchange.
I'll tell you the way that it works. I sold the property. Now I have 45 days. That's called the relinquished property. Now I've got 45 days to find a replacement property. If I can't find that replacement property, I believe I have to pay taxes on all that money. So I found the replacement property. This is in Cape Coral. It was $693,000. So the 1031 company, out of the proceeds, I think it was like 1.1 million that went into 1031. You don't touch the money, by the way. If you touch the money, you just kill the whole deal. So the money goes into 1031. They paid out $694 for the house that I bought. Now I own it free and clear. And then the overage, which was about $400,000, comes to me, and I have to pay taxes on the $400,000. Well, the other thing is this, that you have 45 days to find a replacement property, but you then have 90 days to close the deal. 45 days to locate the replacement property. Once you located it, got 90 days that you can stretch out your escrow.
Okay. Okay. Our next question is, do you have management companies to handle the maintenance or rentals of your various properties? This particular person, they have a rental home in another state with the management fees and maintenance repairs. However, they don't see much of a profit.
Is it Florida? Because if it's Cape Coral, Florida, we got somebody for you.
Well, first of all, I have 18 units in Inglewood, and I have a local management company, Prime West Management, and they handle all the headaches. I used to manage it myself, and it was just crazy. All right. I also had a 10-unit building on Crenshaw Boulevard, and I didn't have a management company, and I would get the the late night calls about, oh, my plumbing stopped at Mr. Bird. Oh, this guy is playing his music too loud, and I really got tired of it. So I decided the management company is a good way to go. But there are many management companies and that you can use. In case of Florida, the property I just purchased in Florida, I have a management company there, and they are excellent.
They are.
So
I use them too.
and Reggie uses the same. We both use the same management company, and it's worth it.
Yeah, they're really.
And they
good.
will send you a statement. And sometimes I do question, you worry about the charges. They say, oh, well, why did they charge this much money? But I do challenge them sometimes.
So are we talking about short-term rentals
right.
or long-term rentals?
They did not
or property period.
They didn't specify.
Okay, yeah. But management companies are good if you get a good one.
Yeah, and it's going to be different whether it's short-term or long-term rentals.
Right.
It's going to be different, but the principle is the same. Find a good management company. And here's another little tip of management companies. Don't get a cheap one, because if you get one that pays you 6-7%, guess what? You're going to have trouble. So you want to pay somebody, for the job. If you expect a good job, you better pay for it.
Mhm.
And so I wouldn't want to hire anyone who would want to charge me less than 10%.
Mhm.
So you get what you pay for.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
All righty. Our next question is, where did you get your initial funding to buy your first house?
I got to think back 35 years.
Well, I could think of my
Yeah,
first.
go ahead. Well,
Okay, yeah, my first property, I picked up a property on, where was it? On Haas Avenue in Inglewood. And I actually partnered with somebody. So I did a partnership to get my first property.
Okay, and this person was already established, I assume.
Well, the person he wasn't any more established than I was, but we were able to put together the money together to buy the first property.
Okay.
It was actually a flipper. So that's how I did my first one. That's how I did.
Yeah, I remember now. All right. So my stepdaughter had a boyfriend who claimed that he had 70 grand tucked away. I didn't know it was drug money. I didn't know that. So
You didn't tell me that.
So I'm going out being a bird dog trying to find property. And when I found something, I called him and he wasn't ready. So I went and found someone else that had money, and that was legitimate money. Felt a lot better. But it was a partnership. I didn't have the money, but I had the desire.
Right.
And I had the knowledge of what to look for. And I had the partner that was that had the money, but did not have the knowledge, did not have the time. So it's a match made in heaven.
Now sometimes you can, I know of a situation where you can say, okay, if you buy this property, just pay me 10%. I'll take 10% of the deal. And you take 90% of the deal. So that's one way of investing in getting your first property.
Okay. Our next question is, what is the age to do a reverse mortgage?
I think it's 62.
62?
62 and a half.
60. 60.
Yeah, Google it, but I'm pretty sure
it.
it's.
Yeah, just Google it.
Just
take out your
62.
phone and Google it.
Okay. All right. Our next question is, what do you suggest for people on a fixed income in relation to purchasing property?
Partnership.
Partnership. Okay.
Right. Or they can wholesale too. They go.
Or wholesale, exactly.
Yeah, they can actually
be the bird dog.
They could be a bird dog. Now, I just talked to one of my. In fact, I talked to Robert Cole, one of the persons I mentored. He did a deal in Pomona. It was last month, and he made $20,000 by bird dogging.
Just by referring
the property to somebody.
And it's so beautiful, because you don't have to have any money, you don't have to have any credit, you don't have to have a job, you don't have to have anything but the desire and the knowledge of how to write up a contract. And you write up the contract, and then you sell the contract. You're not selling the house because you don't own the house. You're selling the piece of paper to someone who's going to execute on that contract. and you walk away. Now, if the person who bought the contract from you made a mistake and maybe paid too much, or maybe there's a big bad plumbing problem and a roof problem, you don't care. It's not you, because you're gone finding the next deal to sell to your next wholesale buyer.
Right.
And so you do that enough times and you begin to generate all this money. And so you'll get yourself in a position where you now want to start buying for yourself. So what we used to teach people is you flip a couple, make that lump sum cash, tuck it away, and the third one, you keep it. You rent it out, take a look at Section 8, take a real close look at Section 8. They pay more than average rents and your money's guaranteed. So then you start the process again. Flip a couple, make the lump sum, third one you keep. Flip a couple, third one you keep. And you do that for a year or a couple of years, and then look down and see where you are. Look up and see where you are. Yeah, it's phenomenal. The number of things that you can do to create wealth in real estate is just phenomenal.
Yes, yes. Our next question, really good one, especially in light of COVID. Is it wise to refinance your main home and use equity to buy another property for lease? This person is afraid of having two loans, especially given that they saw with COVID and the moratorium for renters.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know what I did. In fact, they have a equity line of credit that you can get. Okay. So in other words, you don't take the money out. You only take the money out when you need it. Okay. So get your equity line of credit. So I know at one time the banks used to, I think, do they still do equity lines on income property?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know things have changed, but I had equity lines of credit. So when I wanted to buy a property, all I did was write a check, and then I would pay it back once the property is sold. So, and piggybacking on that, going back to the theory, you flip a couple, third one you keep. Let's say you get an equity line of credit on your residence, on your home. You're going to flip a couple. That money is not going to be tied up that long. So you pull it out of that equity line of credit, buy the property, fix it up, sell it, pay the equity line off. Now you got money in your hands, and you do it a couple more times using that equity line of credit as a tool. It would be the wrong thing to take that money and go put it on something and hope that the rent pays everything. But if you're inclined to get involved in real estate on an investment basis where you're flipping or you're buying and fixing up and selling, I would use an equity line of credit for that, and then make sure that you pay the equity line of credit off. As you're building your estate and as you're getting older, you get to the age of reverse mortgage, have something paid off. I tell my kids that, and they're ready. I think they are, or they will be, but have something paid off, because once you get to say 62, 63, wherever you're going to get your reverse mortgage, now you're going to get 50% of whatever the value, let's say it's a $2 million property now. You're going to get 52% of that minus the expenses. So you have all this money that you can take out of, over $1 million that you take out of a property with no payments. You got to live in the property though. But wouldn't you, what a thing that you have to do. You got to live in a property to get $1 million out of it. Yeah, I wouldn't put a second on my property and then take the money out and then go out and buy, I've seen people, they take a second out and they go out and buy a new car.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they say, okay, I'm going to buy this car, but guess how much you're going to pay for that car with all the interest? That car's going to cost you probably
3 times more than what
maybe more than that, especially if the loan is a 30-year loan. So you don't want to do that. Okay, I've actually used an equity line of credit, and I actually sold the property before I was able to make the next payment on the equity line of credit.
That's what you do. That's prudent, smart investing.
So then that's a nice segue to this question. Is it prudent to establish an entity, build a business capital, or credit to acquire a property first?
I've got to, I'd like to address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And teaching all the students that I've taught over the years, I've run across this so many times. Well, I want to get my corporation first, and I want to get this, and they're going to spend all this money to prepare for something that they're not even going to do. Because the first thing that it tells me is that usually a person is reluctant to move forward in investing in the real estate. So they have all these little off roads they can take. Well, I got to build my corporation first. I say this, go make some money and build a reason to create a corporation. Make the money first, make some money, and then go build a corporation.
And you can always acquire property and put it into a corporate entity later if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Okay, you know, I might acquire property, like the property, for example, the property in Florida, I acquired it in my name. Okay, and then I put it into my living trust. Okay, later on.
That's what
next
we
month.
do. Yeah, that's what I did as well. Yeah, the trust is a wonderful instrument too. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing one right now, a living trust, revising it. And the beauty about, you know, it used to be that you could put together a trust and the trust could have all of these things, the houses and cars and cash and all that stuff. And you want to change things, you just type it up and put it in the file. It used to be that way. Now you got to record it.
Now you ready? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And it should be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty. Our next question is, what is the source of capital to start investing?
The source?
Maybe he or she means what?
What do you mean, banks
Where do I
or
get
individual?
money?
When do you get the money?
I'm assuming that's probably where they get the money. What is the source of capital to start investing?
What is the source? There is no the source, but there are many sources.
Yeah, there's several sources.
There are many, many sources, but there is no the source where you go knock on the door and say, I want to invest in this, and they give you money. It's called a bank, but you got to qualify for it.
Right.
One of the easiest things is like, you know, James and I, we have some funds in the bank, and you know, if one of our students comes along and says, hey, I found this great deal, I don't have good credit, I can't qualify for a loan. We would take a look at it and we might get involved.
Yeah.
We might lend the money or we might become partners.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of other people out there that are just like us.
Yeah.
There are hard money lenders. Let's talk about hard money. I got started with hard money because I didn't have a lot of money to begin with. So there are lenders out there that will lend based on, they will give you what's called, well, a hard money loan. In other words, if I'm buying the property for 100,000, they send their appraiser by just to look, to see that there's a house sitting on the lot. They never get out of the car. They call the guy back and say, yeah, it looks like it's about 175. Okay, so I'll get, what do they lend now? 60%, 65%?
Some are 70%.
70%? So the lender will lend me 70% of the value of the property, but I'm only paying this down here. I didn't have a dime to begin with, but I had a hard money lender that would lend me the money to buy it and to fix it up, and then I can sell it, pay him off. Hard money lenders will charge large interest rates, and they should, because they're making it so easy for you. They need to be paid.
Now I have a property that I picked up on, I think it was on Hobart off of Figueroa. Not Figueroa, off of Manchester. And I actually went to a hard money lender and they lent 100%. And I was able to flip the property in probably less than a month. And I was able to repay the loan, the hard money lender, before I even made the first payment.
Remember how much you made?
I made 70,000 on that deal.
Yeah.
Well,
So, and you're going to have hard money, if they know about you, you're going to have hard money lenders calling you all the time.
Oh yeah, all the time.
All the time. Hey,
Yeah.
do you have a deal for us?
Yeah.
Do you have a deal
do you
for
need
me?
any money?
Money is not a shortage, believe me.
No, it's not.
There's no shortage for money.
There's plenty of money out there.
There's plenty of money out there because people, instead of putting their money into a savings account that's going to pay you, what were you talking about?
Quarter of 1%.
Quarter of 1%. Okay, they will pay you, you would pay them maybe 10%. Okay, 10 times, more than 10 times what they would get in the bank. 40 times more than they would get in the bank. So hard money lenders are out there.
And they want to put their money to
Right.
work. So I always tell people that deals don't chase money. Money chases deals. And that's the way it is. Money chases deals. The only thing is that you have to expose your deal to the money market. When you expose your deal, money comes flying at you. Look at Shark Tank. When some guy comes on with a really great deal, the sharks start fighting over who can get that deal. And so it's the same with real estate. Money chases good deals.
Yeah, right.
So speaking of loans, this person, their question is, can you give your opinion on the HELOC loan?
Yeah, home equity line of
Home
credit.
equity line of credit. That's what we were talking about.
That's exactly what we were talking
It's
about.
great.
It's a great program. You can utilize it in such a way where you can minimize your risk. You don't start paying interest on it until you draw it out. And then you found a deal, a great deal. You already have your strategy and you know how long you're going to be in that deal, maybe 3 months. So it maybe takes 4 months. So you're making payments for 4 months. And at the end of 4 months, you sell that deal, pay the whole thing off. Your credit report's gone up. Your credit rating's gone up. Your pocket has more money in it now. And that lender is so happy with you because you paid him off early. And you're getting rich all the time.
Yeah, I love HELOC loans.
Oh, yeah.
Love them.
Yeah, they're great tools. Great tools.
We also have another loan question. With the rising interest rate, did you recommend building ADUs by refinancing or a construction loan?
I think construction loans.
I would do a construction loan and then convert it to a
convert to a long-term loan.
To a long-term loan. You can refinance because what's going to happen is when you build an ADU, your property is going to increase in value. So you can actually refinance and get a new loan on your property. And of course, this is a great time to refinance. Well, right now the interest rates have gone up, but a couple of months ago, I refinanced 3 properties. Within the last year, I did.
To me, you're looking at a guy who's been around a long, long time. And I remember when interest rates were over 24%. My mentor, Al Lowry, he bought property with 22% interest. I bought property with 18% interest. Yeah, here's the thing. Do you really care if it has, say, $100,000 spread in it? You're going to buy it with that 22% interest. You're going to fix it up and sell it in 2 months. You're only going to pay 22% interest for 2-3 months.
Right.
So why even let the interest rate bother you unless you're going to hold it long term?
Yeah, you don't want to do a 30-year 22%.
No, you don't want to do that. But if it's just it's like a carryover loan, you don't care how much interest you're paying because you're not going to be in it that long.
All righty. We also have another loan question. Would you recommend a veteran to use the VA loan to buy an investment property?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so many veterans out there that are, in fact, I'm renting to, I think 2 of my tenants are veterans. They never bought property. I would definitely use that.
We owe you, vet. We owe you big time.
Yeah. And he's been a renter of mine for 20 years, and I still don't understand why he doesn't buy a property. Why he hasn't used his VA to purchase a property.
No-nos.
Yeah, they have what they call VA no-nos. No money down.
No money, no nothing.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Well, and it should be because we owe them. They went out there and risked their lives.
Now, I'm seeing a lot of questions about out-of-state investment properties outside of California. Because of the high prices. Are there any other states that you all consider that people should look into? I looked all around. Here's what I do. I take realtor.com. I love realtor.com. And I like their map. I'll set up my criteria, my filters. I want a house. I want it on the beach. I want this. I want that. And I start searching and I look at the map and I'll just walk the map and see how the numbers change. And that helps me to determine where I'd like to invest. A good friend of mine called me the other day and told me that, it's hard to find affordable properties in the country nowadays, but take a look at Muscle Shoals. Is that Alabama, I think?
Yes.
Yeah,
Alabama.
Muscle Shoals. And so I looked at Muscle Shoals and I saw where there was affordable property there on the beach, right on the beach. So we're always looking for vacation rentals, Airbnb.
Yeah, right.
And if we have a property on the beach, it's going to rent a lot better than one that's not on the beach. And Muscle Shoals seem to be a place that your money could go a little further.
And we gave you 2 examples of the properties we picked up in Cape Coral.
Yeah. I
Look
didn't
at the-
show the third one.
Yeah, you didn't show your third property. Yeah, but in Cape Coral, Florida, it's Lee County is the second largest. Let's see, is the second largest group in Florida county in Florida. The fastest growing, the second
Fastest growing, yeah.
second
And we
fastest
don't-
growing county in the state of Florida. So
Yeah, and come on. Well, I mean, we don't mind sharing with you. There's
Uh-huh.
plenty out there.
yeah, right. And then I invested in Atlanta. I invested in Louisville, Kentucky. I built 6 units in Louisville, Kentucky.
So here's the thing. You want to know where to invest. You need to know what the numbers are. I think I would begin by just Googling, hey, Google. Well, first of all, identify what you want to do. You want long-term rental? You want to move into the property? You want vacation? What do you want to do? And then you Google and ask Google, hey, what areas can I do? Blah, blah, blah. What are the best vacation rental areas? What are the hot areas? What are the areas that people don't know of? What are the sleeper areas? And then you start letting your finger do the walking and see how the numbers change. And then you can start reading about those areas. And many times the reading that you do will tell you why the numbers changed.
Okay, and also look at where the industries are moving to.
Mhm.
You know, like Memphis, Tennessee, I believe, was it FedEx is down there? So that's a hot area.
Yeah.
What are some of the other ones? San Antonio, Texas is hot right now. You have places in what else? I think in Texas. What's the other one that I read? Austin, Texas is hot. Okay, because of the tech industry. So start
Mhm.
looking at where the industries are going.
Mhm.
And where industries are going, that's where people need housing. Even in California, just think about the Inland Empire. One of the fastest growing areas in California is the Inland Empire. Riverside County, Beaumont is I was looking at some property in Beaumont because it is one of the fastest growing counties in California. So there are some opportunities.
So you got to do some research.
Yeah, you can go to places like Hemet. Okay, you can still pick up properties in places like Hemet for under $400,000 right now.
So then the question becomes, what are you going to do with it? Because just being able to buy, you got to have a strategy that's going to make you money, pay your mortgage and get some, put some property in your pocket. So yeah, so I would start the research, and it's that's the effort that is required.
You're right.
It's the discipline to do the research.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not difficult because you have the internet.
Yeah, easy.
Easy.
Okay.
All righty. Our next question is, how do you obtain 50% of a home price to start a reverse mortgage?
How do you obtain
50%? Well, you have to wait for your property to appreciate.
Yeah.
And one thing is you want to get the property at a deal. Okay, so if you can get a property where there's a hidden equity in there, for example, Cape Coral, Florida.
Yeah.
The property I purchased has a lot of equity in it right now.
And
okay, and I was able to buy the property. This was unique. Okay, first of all, the property was fully furnished, and the owners lived in Sweden, so they weren't coming back. They were motivated. So you find your motivated sellers.
Mhm.
And another way to do it is probates. People are dying all the time.
There's a lot of different strategies,
There.
a lot of different
Mhm.
ways. The 50% that you're talking about, if you are in your property as your primary residence and you're starting to get up in age and you're around 62 or so, and your property has gone up, let's say you bought it for 100,000 and it's gone up to 400,000, you've got enough equity in there. So they'll take that 400 and give you 52% of it minus expenses.
Mhm.
So that's where your 52% can come from. Also, one other thing I'll say real quickly is that I didn't realize this, but I found out in 2019 when we bought that house in Cape Coral that you can purchase a house with a reverse mortgage. So you have to come in and make up the difference. And at the time we bought that house for $472,000. I had to bring 48% in. I brought in about $200 and some thousand, and the reverse mortgage gave the balance of it, 200 and some thousand, to make 472.
Mhm.
So I'm saying that you can buy a property using a reverse mortgage. The balance of the funds has to come from somewhere though.
Mhm.
If you're in a property, then you wait for it to appreciate, and then there are your funds for the reverse mortgage.
Mhm.
Okay. Also, we have quite a few retired seniors here on the call, and
Hello, welcome to the
Yeah, welcome to the club, huh?
and one great question is, if you're a retired senior and let's say you have money invested with a company like Fidelity, would you recommend withdrawing some money to invest in real estate?
Well, it depends how much you're earning on that, on your retirement.
It also depends on where you
Yeah,
are with
yeah,
your
yeah.
real estate expertise.
Yeah.
I would leave that money alone until you are ready to pull the trigger.
Mhm.
You know, you don't pull the money out and then
Right.
try to learn real estate.
Right.
Don't do that. Leave the money, learn real estate.
Mhm.
And then when you got to go, remember the old, I'm going to date myself, Ed Sullivan. Remember the old plate spinners? He'd have a stick and he'd spin a plate and then he'd spin another plate and then he'd have to come back, spin this one again, spin that, and then spin a third one.
Yeah, I remember.
So you make sure that the first plate is spinning well before you go on to the second.
All righty.
I think I just confused everybody, didn't I?
You remember Ed Sullivan?
And one
Hey,
person
Rick.
remembers Ed Sullivan. That makes two of us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
And for those that ask, this is recorded, so you will be able to have access to this. The Urban League will send you all a link.
Okay.
Another great question is, this person purchased their property alone in 2020, and they're currently considering to purchase with partners, as you all did with your first property. Can you discuss the difference between purchasing alone and with partners, and what should they look out for? Are there any tips?
We laugh because we have an inside joke here.
Partners.
Make sure it's somebody you can trust, okay? Make sure that the partners are going to be a drag on your deal, because you can get some bad partners. We've done that. We've done that.
Yeah.
We've all experienced having some bad partners, but make sure you know, it's just like a marriage.
I would say this. I'd say
Maybe
this.
you have a good marriage with that partner.
That if you have someone that you're considering partnering with, get to know the person.
Mhm.
And as you get to know the person, you're going to begin to feel different things, right?
Mhm.
Then after you get to know that person, I did this with one of my students. He was talking about these partners that he has, and he's so excited. And I said, calm down, calm down. I want you to calm down and think, who doesn't belong in your partnership? Who doesn't belong? He thought, and he says, yeah, you're right. There were two that did not belong in the partnership. So rather than try to carry them with, in the partnership and have them be a drag on the partnership and maybe even screw it all up, you nip it in the bud. So when you get to know your partners, before you take on a partner, you ask yourself, is this a partner good for me? And you don't just say, yeah, because you like them. You say yes, because they are truly an asset to what it is you're trying to build. Only you will know that, only you.
Right.
And that's why you got to take the time to get to know them.
Yeah, right.
And then be honest and ask yourself, is this person right? And if the first thing that pops up is no, go with it.
Yeah, right. And that includes relatives too.
Oh, especially relatives.
Yeah.
They believe that you owe them. As soon as you get rich, you
Right.
owe all your relatives.
So be careful with that.
Okay. Speaking of relatives and inheritance, quite a few questions on this, but this one particular one is, now, if your heirs are unable to afford to keep the property, what advice do you have on keeping real estate wealth for subsequent generations?
Go ahead.
Me?
Reverend Gerald got to answer that question.
Okay. All right, Reverend Joe.
I got to answer that question.
Well, you can put it into a trust,
That's
and you
right.
can specify. You can say, well, you're not to sell this property. You actually set up the various types of trusts that will give like a will trust that will give instructions on how to handle your estate. They will restrict the estate. A lot of wealthy people do that.
Here's what I'm thinking, though. That
What do you think?
She says that if you can't afford to maintain, is that what I heard?
Is you
Can't
maintain the
afford to
property?
maintain? I think that's what I heard.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, understand this. On a reverse mortgage, when I pass on, Arlette and Keith are going to take over the property, and they're going to take the property with 48% equity in the property. So if you've got 48% equity, your mortgage is going to be low enough where the rent that comes into that property is going to be plenty enough rent to pay the mortgage, pay the expenses, and have a little left over. That's why we build estates for generational wealth, because when I pass it on, I'm not passing on I'm not passing on something that is not valuable.
Yeah,
and if they screw it up, I didn't do my job well enough in teaching them.
Right.
And I think I did do my job well. They're not going to screw it up. But there's enough equity and there's enough money in that property where you should not have a problem with normal maintenance. So we're not talking about tearing down and rebuilding. We're talking about just normal maintenance.
Reverend Gerald?
Well, I just want to say, James said the right word. If you live in California and you have assets of any kind, even if they're small, you need to have a trust.
Absolutely.
And you can put in that trust. You can say you give your child a house. You can put in that trust that the house cannot be sold ever. Right. You could put in that trust that they can't borrow no money against the house. You
exactly
can restrict everything you want to restrict. You can make it happen. But what happens, and another reason why we're doing this series of B War, what's been happening much too often is we have people who own several pieces of property, have a lot of equity, and for whatever reason, they don't want to spend $2,500, $3,000 to have a trust attorney put a document together that can protect that home for them and their downline. People in ministry, I don't know, something about dying people don't want to talk about.
Right.
But trusts are necessary, in particular in California, and they're not just for when you die. You can get sick, you can be in an accident, you can get crippled.
Exactly.
Anything can happen.
Right.
So if you're worried about your kids messing up what you've built, they don't have to mess it up unless you let them. And if you put your trust together right, they can't mess it up. And if they go crazy bananas, you can put in your trust to give your property to a charity that's doing good for the world or whatever. So you don't have to let your kids mess up nothing. If you write it down and have it legally documented on how you want things to flow when you're no longer able to make them flow yourself.
That's it.
Please, 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 if you're on this call and you own a Christmas basket and you don't have a trust, get one. Go to an attorney that knows what they're doing. Don't spend $500 with a paralegal and think you got your stuff together. That's not going to work.
We know somebody, Gerald, that
I know several. We've had them in this program. Please, if you don't do nothing else, tomorrow, get a trust. I have too many people I know personally that own property all over town have nothing.
Nothing.
If they died tomorrow, that property would get messed up because their kids would mess it up.
Yeah,
trust me.
Look at Aretha Franklin.
There you go.
Celebrity.
Prince. I mean, there are people. There are rich people, but the other folk now, the other folk who look a little different, the Jewish folk. Every time they do what Reggie James does, every time they buy something, they'll put it in their grandchild's name, then, but still have it within the trust, the family trust, so the grandchild can only do what they tell them the grandchild can do.
Exactly.
And they got property, paying for educations, buying houses, whatever, on what they have today. And there are some Black folks that got enough right now to send every grandkid and great grandkid to college for perpetuity if they treat it right.
Yep.
Right.
I'm through preaching. I'm finished.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. To go back to partnerships, would you recommend a formal agreement?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, we don't go by word.
And real estate has to be in writing. Anything in real estate has to be in writing anyway for it to be enforceable and valid.
Okay. Another question is, what are your thoughts on the all-in-one loan?
What's all?
I don't know an all.
I don't know what is that.
Please educate us.
Okay. They're going to
What that is.
All righty.
All-in-one loan. Never heard that.
Never heard that term.
All-in-one. Okay. All righty.
Maybe they can clarify it, but they.
If you haven't heard of it, you probably shouldn't mess with it.
Okay. Another loan question. Do you have to pay the loan off prior to the transfer from your personal name into an entity?
And no,
No.
and especially into like a living trust or something
No.
like that, no.
Okay.
And
Good
also,
question, though.
and that's a good question. And may I add also that your taxes will not increase either. You know, your taxes will not change.
However, we just did one with my brother and they tried to increase the taxes by
Yeah, right.
$2,400.
Yeah, right.
So when that happens, it may happen to you. Just know that you don't have to pay it. You just went from ownership into a trust or a trust into ownership.
Right.
It never changed ownership. It just changed title. That's all. So I got a letter into them and they're going to give me my $2,400 credit.
Right.
You know, they won't charge me basically.
Yeah. What happens when you change title on a property? The tax assessor will send you a form,
Mhm,
and that's what triggers the
mhm.
tax assessment. So there's usually a checkbox that says, okay, I'm transferring from my name into a living
Into a
trust,
trust.
or to a trust, whatever.
Mhm.
So it shouldn't
Trigger.
it shouldn't
taxes.
trigger tax increase.
Okay. Okay. And that's a nice segue to our last question. Is capital gains only accessed when you sell a property?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't, you know, it's like stocks. You don't lose until you sell,
You're right.
like anything else. I mean, because if it goes up and down, you don't lose until you sell.
Uh-huh.
And you sell it when it's down.
Right. And hopefully when you sell, you're in a lower tax bracket.
That's what the purpose of the
That's what
1031 is.
so you want to be in a lower tax bracket when you do sell.
See, when you're young and you're building, you're in that high tax bracket because you're making all this money, right?
Mhm.
And so you're in a higher tax bracket. But when you get older, you start thinning out your portfolio. You're in a lower tax bracket. Now you pay the taxes
Mhm.
on the deferred taxes that you deferred 20 years ago.
All righty. Well, that concludes our Q&A. Reggie and James, you all did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's
Thank
give
you.
some virtual hands. I know we can't see each other.
Yay!
You all did an excellent job. Thank you so much for your knowledge, your insight. And I hope that everyone that is watching will be able to take these nuggets of information to be able to apply it into their life and share it amongst their community and their
Thank
family.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Go
Yeah,
out and
enjoyed
make it
it.
happen, guys.
All right.
Oh, and one last thing. How can people get in contact with you all?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll give you James's number.
Thank you, Rich.
I can be reached at reggie@reggiebrooks.com. Easy for me to remember. Reggie@reggiebrooks.com.
And you can reach me at Jambird, JAMBIRD1 @gmail.com.
All righty. And we will now turn it over to Mr. Reverend Gerald for closing remarks.
Reggie, James, thank you guys so much. That was a great presentation, great information. I just want, before we turn it over to the president of the Los Angeles Urban League, Michael Lawson, for closing remarks, I just want to remind everybody about our next session, which is a healthy approach to wealth building. All these things that we talked about, all the things that you do in the future, if you're not healthy, mentally and physically healthy, it means nothing. You can't use it. You can't get enjoyment out of it. So please join us on April 27th for Dr. Regina Edmond and psychologist Lauren Hill, and they're going to talk about a healthy approach to wealth building. Thank you so much for tonight. Michael Lawson, it's on you.
It's on you. So what you go? You're muted.
I can't hear you.
You got to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you. This was fantastic, gentlemen. I learned so much, and I think everybody else learned a lot, and there's a lot more to be learned. So thank you so much for this just informative session. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Lawson. I'm president and CEO of the Los Angeles Urban League. And on behalf of the Los Angeles Urban League and Parkside Economic Development Corporation, thank you for participating in tonight's Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program. We excuse me for a second. We hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did, because I enjoyed it tremendously. And I want to thank Mr. James Bird and Reggie Brooks for generously sharing with us their wealth of knowledge of real estate. There is so much to unpack. I recommend that everybody get a link to this and watch it over and over and over again because there's so much information. I also want to thank Gerald Smith, Reverend Gerald Smith, Chairman of Parkside Economic Development Corporation. I want to thank Brian Williams, the Chief Operating Officer for the Los Angeles Urban League, who could not join us this evening, for their leadership in presenting BWARP, as we fondly call this webinar series. Thank you, Jacinda. You and your continued support for producing BWARP. You're doing a fantastic job. And my team members, Michael Rodriguez and Ron Carter, for their commitment to marketing the BWARP series webinars. We also hope that the information that was shared with you will contribute to your success in building generational wealth for your families. We have a mission of building $2 billion of net worth for our community in Los Angeles County over the next 10 years. And let me be clear about what I just said, because that's just not pie in the sky. The Los Angeles Urban League has been in Los Angeles for 100 years, for over 100 years. We were opened in 1921, so we're 101 years old. Our goal, our centennial promise, is that we will rebuild Greenwood, the district in Tulsa that was destroyed by riots. And it wasn't the only district or city that was primarily Black that was destroyed during that period of time. We are going to rebuild that here in Los Angeles. And what Reggie and James have talked about is going to be the anchor for what we're going to do. We hope that you will join us in this noble quest. Please continue to check our website, laul.org, for information on the work that we are conducting. And you will be able to find a link to this webinar, so you'll be able to listen to it again and again. Again, thank you for attending tonight's BWARP webinar, and good luck on your endeavors going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, much.
Everybody have a great night.
Honor's been mine.
Thank you,
Good night, everybody.
You're fantastic.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.